Despite lawsuits and challenges that the city will likely face, City Council voted and passed its controversial gun legislation 6-3.
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
No.
Mrs. Gross. Aye.
After the vote came down, some people in the crowd clapped, but others like Dennis Jordan aren't too happy.
I will not abide by that law. Make a criminal out of me.
City Council voted on 3 bills. The bills would place restrictions on military-style assault weapons, ban the use of armor-piercing ammunition and high-capacity magazines, and allow the temporary seizure of guns from people who are determined to be a danger to themselves or others.
We know that extreme risk protection orders will help to reduce death, both by reducing suicides and by allowing courts to intervene to prevent future tragedies like what we experienced at the Tree of Life.
Alan Willand says he and his wife became more active when his family member, Daniel Legger, was injured in the Tree of Life massacre.
I'm glad Pittsburgh is willing to take on the possibility of being sued, because this is so important that it's worth being sued over.
But others disagree.
Where is the money going to come from when, opposition wins, and then there is, court costs and, attorney fees?
In fact, Second Amendment activists have made it known that they will challenge the legislation in court, pointing out that state law doesn't allow municipalities to regulate firearms. The legislation was watered down last week in an effort to make it more likely to survive a court challenge. Amy Wattis, KDKA News.
And there we have it from my old place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good morning, by the way. Kevin Miller in the morning. Thank goodness we don't live east of the Great River. And in response to that terrible tragedy at the Tree of Life Synagogue, you have cities such as Pittsburgh and others passing these laws, going after your right to keep and bear arms. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we'll talk a little bit about that when we examine just the state of things. Think about this. If you disagree with the libs, well, then all of a sudden you're a person that should be silenced. Hate speech, right? Right? And now all of a sudden, if you have a military-type assault weapon, an AR-15, well, then we should be able to take that away from you in the name of keeping you safe. How well has the Patriot Act kept us safe in America today? How well has giving the government so much power helped our individual liberty? How much? And I go back to when we were talking about what former President Obama did to us, that Edward Snowden uncovered, that basically was whitewashed and continues to be whitewashed, where we have the government spying on us, yet we have people coming into the country illegally. And we don't really care where they're from. We don't do background checks on the illegals. We just let them in. And here you have a major U.S. city saying, we don't care about the lawsuits. We don't care about the Second Amendment under the Constitution. We're going to pass a law restricting people's rights to keep and bear arms. And you can't tell me Senator Hiroto, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, other progressives love this stuff. And it really comes down to this. Whom do you trust? Your neighbor that goes to the range? Your neighbor that conceals or open carries? Or, quite frankly, the law? Now, you talk to our great friends in law enforcement, and you know what they'll tell you? We can't be everywhere. We can't be there on time. We can't prevent crimes. This is not Minority Report. This is not precog. We cannot help. What can be of service? Not a gun-free zone. Certainly not a gun-free zone. But what can help is somebody who wants to make sure that you're safe, that your family is safe, that other people are safe. And by doing that, they take the Second Amendment very, very seriously. Now, our friends in Oregon, they've decided that they may expand gun-free zones and raise the age where people can buy guns. Again, Oregon is such a beautiful state. You go on your way to the coast or Pendleton or wherever, and you get addicted to the green. You really do. When you live in a desert, a high desert in the mountains, you think to yourself, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. You can ski and golf in the same day, as our friend Dave Petzo does. However, you miss the green. You go into Oregon and you go, well, okay, you've got people that are smoking pot. You've got people that are extremely liberal. It's not so bad. And then you get this. Oregon lawmakers have scheduled about 4 hours of public hearings to tackle what's shaping up to be their major push when it comes to limiting the Second Amendment in Oregon. The Senate Judiciary Committee will take testimony on a 44-page proposal that would, among other things, penalize some gun owners who fail to lock up their guns and allow gun dealers to refuse to sell guns to people under the age of 21. By the way, have you caught that story about Dick's Sporting Goods? It has cost them $150 million because of their anti-Second Amendment, anti-American, anti-gun stance. And in reality, why not throw it up early in the morning at 580-5436? If you're anti-gun, aren't you anti-American? Oh, no, Kevin, that's being a liberal. We can agree to disagree on that, right? But how about this? The state of Oregon would allow gun dealers to refuse to sell weapons to people under 21. This is what I don't understand about the state of Oregon. And I know we have talked about annexing Oregon. We've talked about putting up a wall between us and Oregon. But on one moment, the state of Oregon wants to let 16-year-olds vote, yet not allow them to protect themselves until they're 21. So you're wise enough, you're smart enough to vote for a ne'er-do-well politician like Oregon Governor Kate Brown because she's in favor of it. Let the inmates run the asylum. Let the kids run the school. And yet, you're not going to give them the right to protect themselves in public anywhere else. It's crazy. And, you go to these red flag laws, and thanks to a lot of our conservative legislators, that hasn't happened here in Idaho. But you have William Barr, the Attorney General, saying it's okay. So in other words, you could say to someone, hey, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. And they could come to your house and take your weapons. Here you have a state considering that if you don't have gun locks on your locks, and this is a Western state, they could take your firearms. You have the city of Pittsburgh saying, look, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy has nuts, Mounds don't. We don't like crazy kook Kevin Miller. We're going to take his guns. Now, people used to say this, and if you're a person that loves talk radio, Bo Greitz, you remember him? The Bo Greitz Show, Black Helicopters, Alex Jones, when he's not being sued, the Black Helicopters, the conspiracy theorists. This is mainstream. The conspiracy has gone mainstream. Tom Clancy couldn't figure this stuff out anymore. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And don't you think that somebody in the Idaho legislature, those devious little libs, will come up with something to take your guns? But look, the idea of expanding gun-free zones, with all due respect to those people who have died in Charleston at that beautiful church, in Pittsburgh, in that synagogue, I believe churches and synagogues and houses of worship and the mosque in New Zealand, I believe they were all gun-free zones, right? And the only people that understand gun-free zones are the law-abiding citizens that you never have to worry about. The proposed change in Oregon would shield retailers from accusations by giving gun dealers the right to set their own age limit as long as it's 18, 19, 20, or 21. So you have people threatening to sue as well, and they should. Now you have a Senate bill would also make owners liable for harm caused by someone who obtains a gun that is not locked up. after 2 years, within 2 years. If that person who obtains an unsecured gun is a minor, the owner can be charged with a misdemeanor. Passing more laws is not going to keep us safe. What is going to keep us safe is education and the incredible responsibility. You know, so many times people ridicule Clint Eastwood or Chuck Norris or what we see in the movies. By the way, I love when we have real-life heroes in the movies, but the courage to open carry or conceal carry is something that should not be ridiculed. Our man Terry, State College, Pennsylvania, open carries. It would be easy to be like a squishy jellyfish like Kevin Miller in the morning and just kind of bow down to the politically correct Politburo, but they don't. Two Fly Bride does it as well. Here's the issue with this. They're taking the responsibility of keeping themselves, their families, total strangers safe by arming themselves. We need to arm more people, not disarm us. Jerry in Nampa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jerry.
Yeah, Kevin, I wanted to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Since Steve the Liberal hadn't been calling in, I thought I'd fill in for him. But first, let me premise what I'm going to say by I'm not sure I think it's a good idea for 16-year-olds to concealed carry or even open carry for personal protection. I do think they should be allowed to have weapons for sporting purposes, such as going hunting with the family and shooting at the range and all that. But that's all part of training for later on when they are an adult enough and they do have the responsibility for the self-protection part and all that. And also part of my preference for this is by all means, I do not think they should be allowed to vote, because it's obvious nowadays 26-year-olds are still idiots. So, I don't know how that's going to work. Now, as far as the devil's advocate part goes, liberals would argue that for a 16-year-old to have a gun they would make a public safety, personal safety issue out of it, and that they're not mature enough to be able to handle a gun because probably been playing too many video games and don't know the difference anymore between the joystick and the trigger. So that would be the argument they would against the guns. And then they would argue that, but then giving them the right to vote is not really a matter of a life and death or public safety issue. They're just voting. So they're not really going to hurt anyone. So I just wanted to leave you with that, knowing the liberal mind as well as I do from listening to years and years of conservative talk hosts such as you and the big guy. I've learned to be able to read them pretty good. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. So you have a good day.
Well, Jerry from Nampa, thank you very much for the call and filling in for Liberal Steve. Patriot Ray joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Patriot Ray.
Well, it's a great morning. Thank you. You know, the liberals keep pushing their narrative. We've got to have gun control. We've got to have, safe zones. We can't have anybody who has a gun in a school because, we just need to protect the kids. Well, every time they pass one of these laws or their rules that you can't carry in a school or whatever, they're just doing nothing but making us targets. And the problem is they're making the most vulnerable targets because they're going against our children. And this is insanity at its best. They keep pushing the same narrative because they are insane when it comes to they don't understand, or they do understand what they're doing. So I just look at what they're teaching our kids in school. Our kids in school are no longer even taught cursive, but yet they're taught about the Quran, and they're taught about how we need to be kind and considerate to everybody else. You go to another country, and you see how you're treated there if you do the things that they do here, like carrying a Mexican flag around over an American flag. You do another country and you do that. Look at what happened to the young man in North Korea who just thought he would take a flag and then ended up dying in the long run. I just don't understand their insanity, Kevin. We look at these situations and we say, what are you doing? Because you're not protecting us. It's like the wall. We've got hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border now, and they're doing nothing except saying we don't need it because there's no danger there. Although we have people killed along the border. We have people killed in the United States because the illegals have been here and deported and then come back and commit a crime again. We need to stop the insanity. The only thing that I have is my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and good people like you and others who call in and continue to let us have a voice. And hopefully some of these people are actually listening to what's going on instead of listening to the media who continue to tell the lies about our president, who continue to tell the lies about what the Dems are doing and how wonderful they are, but everybody else is insane. So I don't know. Kevin, we just keep moving forward. We keep praying to our Heavenly Father, and we just keep doing the right things. God bless you and your family. I love you like a brother.
God bless you. We love you, Patriot Ray. Thank you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. We will not negotiate with the terrorist. We continue on. Yeah. You like that one, did you? KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. And I'm Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So we started this hour talking a little bit about guns and gun-free zones and raising the ages. And we had Jerry from Nampa saying that he's going to be the new liberal Steve. We've got Patriot Ray talking about how they're trying to take everything from us. And how would they do that? How would the devious little libs do that? Well, Senate Democrats, when I first saw the headline, I'm thinking, Democrats want to abolish college? That makes no sense. Anyway, Senate Democrats plan to introduce a constitutional amendment intended to abolish the Electoral College. Now, if you go to our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com, I tell you how the devious little libs are looking to take over America. Pack the Supreme Court, bring in the illegals, get rid of the Electoral College, lower the voting age. It's all happening. It's all happening. Should I do this? Should I do this? You know, many years ago, before I even thought about coming west of the Great River, when I was pretty much Midwestern centered, I was a history teacher. And I was fascinated by history, and kids and adults, it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to apply yourself. It's never too late to better yourself. And I was fascinated by history. Gosh, if I had just applied myself in school. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you're an achiever and you're like, man, Kevin Miller, I applied myself and I've got a great education. Education is such a wonderful thing. And today, you have people that are geniuses just by simply watching the YouTube. But we're living in a world that goes back to the ancients, the Greeks. And I'm not talking about a gyro or anything else. I'm talking about the birthplace of the republic, the birthplace of democracy. And back there, you had a guy named Socrates. Or if you're a fan of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, of course, that's a classic movie these days. You know what I'm talking about. Socrates. So Socrates. Socrates believed in a moral order. Socrates believed in a right and a wrong. So much so that he ate the hemlock because he was following the law and the rules. And the people that were against Socrates, they were called the sophists, and they practiced sophistry. And they believed in moral relativism. And that's where we are today. Situational ethics, situational awareness. There is no right or wrong. There are no standards. The Electoral College is antiquated. The right to vote should be lowered to 16. You don't have to be a citizen to vote in this country. And because the Supreme Court doesn't have enough liberals, we're going to dilute it to make sure the libs run amok and totally rewrite the United States of America. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about that. where we have a senator from Hawaii, not Hanoto or whatever her name is, the other senator from Hawaii, looking to get rid of the Electoral College. We'll tell you why it's important next. Plus your calls. Kevin Miller, waking up on the right side, only on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Rolling along on the right side. Kevin Miller in the morning, outing the devious little libs and the plans they have for you and your family members. We will not negotiate with the terrorists. We will not bow to the insurgents. We move on. Taking your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Other news of the day, the president saying he has to win, and he's right about that.
Could lose the country. We really could, because these people are stone cold crazy.
They are stone cold crazy. You are right, Mr. President.
What they want to do to our country would be overwhelming. It would be horrible. So we have no choice. We have to win.
You know, earlier we were talking about in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Oregon, more gun control issues. Now you have New Zealand. They have decided that, yes, Kevin Miller, that, yes, Treasure Valley, they're going to pass new gun control restrictions following the horrific massacre in that mosque in New Zealand. And here's the thing, whether you're at a Christian church in Charleston, South Carolina, whether you're at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, whether you're at a mosque in New Zealand, the crazies are coming. And we can talk about red flag laws. We can talk about being nice to folks. We can talk about a lot of things, but unfortunately, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, getting rid of the guns is not the answer. We'll continue to talk about that. By the way, Oregon seeking to raise, it doesn't make sense in Oregon. They want to lower the age of voting. They want to legalize magic mushrooms, the shrooms, to go along with the marijuana. Then they want to raise the age of buying a firearm from 18 to 21. In other words, they want to let the dealer decide. And then in New Zealand, they have this one. Owning a firearm is a privilege, not a right. We need to remove the most dangerous weapons from our community. The bill would ban a range of semi-automatic weapons while institute a buyback program requiring current owners of such guns to give them to authorities by September, according to our affiliate, Radio New Zealand. They're not really our affiliate, but it sounds big time, doesn't it? And if it sounds big time, you're halfway to big time. 4 weeks after the deadly attacks at the two mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. Can you see that happening here? Can you see that happening in Idaho and the rest of the country? When will we ever learn the gun laws don't have any teeth unless you have people with guns to enforce them? That's number one. Number two, do you want a new stadium? Do you want a new library? By the way, the library is a wonderful place. But how many people really use the library these days? I love the library. The library's great. The library's fun. But does the city of Boise really need a brand new, spanking new library like they have in Nampa? Well, you go to the Boise Library, and you go during the day, and once again, the mayor of this city refuses to acknowledge the issue. You got a bunch of people that are there, homeless folks, sleeping on the computers, not looking for jobs, hanging out. So essentially, you're building a brand new library that during the day is a homeless shelter. Look, nothing against people that have lost their homes. God bless them. We want to help them. We want to get them straight. We're all a paycheck away from being on the streets. But truly, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, do we really need a brand new library? Well, the mayor wants it, so whatever the mayor wants, the mayor gets, right? From our news partners, Channel 7, A bill that is close to becoming law could have some major impacts on cities and towns across the state. We're just going to call this the Mike Moyle bill because that's what it is, otherwise known as HB 217. Also known as the Urban Renewal Bill, would require municipalities to go to the people and hold an election whenever a municipal building project is going to use 51% or more of public money to complete. That includes urban renewal. By the way, it's interesting on this one that there are no other options for developers to use urban renewal money, right? But do you really want I mean, if you took a poll, and by the way, I don't know why the politicians would fear this. Every time you have a levy, every time you have a bond for a school, and it doesn't pass, they just put it up before the electorate again, right? And it eventually passes. So what's wrong with the people voting, the people deciding? Boom. Isaac in Boise with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning. Thank you for all your hard work. I really appreciate your efforts. The homeless shelter that they're building is a good point that you'd made. I'm a person that recently had been homeless a number of times. Bad relationship. It's just what it is. It's life. And so firsthand experience, yeah, that is something that you're handing a person a fish. They don't need to look for a place to be. They've got a place to be. That homeless shelter is that they have down there, down in 13th and River, doesn't have access in the middle of the day. They assume people are going to be taking good care of themselves, taking good care of their life, and moving forward. Moving forward, it just isn't sitting around on a computer and sleeping, and you're absolutely correct on that. That is something I have more than firsthand experience, and God forbid it happens again. God bless your morning. This is a subject with gun control that I really wanted to touch on when I was listening to your show this morning because, boy, over there in New Zealand, is it? Yeah, of course. The Mormons got shot up. No, I'm kidding. And I'm so sorry for their family members. Who's going to bring back their gun control rights? You're not going to have a bunch of liberals in that town, in that part of the world over there, to bring their gun rights back without any sort of real degradation of their cause, and that's just too bad. They're just going to get eaten up. Over there in Venezuela, got people eating up garbage instead of eating up bit by bit their rights to their country, their land.
Sorry, it was the insurgents. Keep going, Isaac. We appreciate you.
No, you're good.
Sharing your story.
So it's Wednesday, and it is wacky, and I don't hear liberal Steve too much anymore, and that's wonderful. So way to go. That's what I've got, and I've got to get on with my morning. But you've got a bunch of callers that really touched my heart quite a bit. Callers, and I'm just not going to name them. They know who they are. And I want to let them know that there are people that are digging in. I'm going back to Boise State, and there's things that are happening in my life that God has touched. Jesus Christ is my Savior as well, and He'll continue to be. And we know what the outcome is. And I love that. So keep on loving life. And I love your hard work again. Good day.
God bless you, Isaac. We appreciate you. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we are talking about the efforts to take away your guns in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, east of the Great River. Also, we've got in the land east of the Great River, we've got west of the Great River, the state of Oregon trying to take your guns. And in New Zealand, they're taking your guns. I don't know where they are in relation to the river. However, you've got House Majority Leader Mike Moyle. Representative Moyle doing something that the Republican Party that I've seen hasn't done. They've taken a shot at the liberal stronghold, otherwise known as the city of Boise. And this story from Channel 7, where we're talking about the urban renewal bill, and you're thinking to yourself, why is it important? Well, again, if you live in Boise, and Boise is a wonderful place, but I don't know how many people have said to me, Kevin Miller, we're overtaxed. Kevin Miller, we pay so much in taxes, whether it's businesses, whether it's everything else. I feel like you at a Thanksgiving dinner and everybody's pinching me. I'm tired of being pinched for my money. I totally get it. I totally understand it. So you have this bill, back to our friends at Channel 7, is now creating a lot of uncertainty surrounding the proposed library and stadium projects in Boise. Mike Moyle saying, quote, so if you use urban renewal, auditorium, and similar general fund monies and exceeds 51%, They now have to get the vote of the people. It would take 60% approval by the voters to get a green light to move forward with the project. Abuses like Boise is talking about, like building libraries and stadiums and things like that. Moyle said this bill would prevent urban renewal districts from abusing the current system. So if you live in the city of Boise, and look, again, it's getting very scary when the city can't throw out people that are living in the parks because of the Ninth Circuit. It's getting very scary that if you go to the Boise Library today around 10 o'clock, you'll see the gang of usual suspects there. Maybe they're trying to better themselves at the library, but you see a lot of people sleeping. In fact, we had a gentleman that used to work at the security at the library who would take photos and send them to me for his own personal edification. $80 million for a brand new library in the city of Boise. How many people would be willing to pay for that? Joining us now, Tea Party Bob, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Well, Mr. Miller, I figured I'd catch you a little early this morning since I have much to do and places to go, and you're on my topic. So
well, thank you, and thank you for listening to the radio, by the way.
Hey, listen, I'm one of the few people still has one of those things.
God bless you for that.
You know, you wonder why I'm moving out of the Treasure Valley, but you give me all the reasons every day to get the heck out of Dodge before the libs take over and run the place. You know, Beater's running around like the rest of the leftists, looking to expand the role of government, spending taxpayer money like a drunken sailor. You know, it's only a matter of time before this clown of the mayor tries to put a gun control bill through like the one they just put through in Pittsburgh. You know, think about it. How far to the left Boise has moved with urban renewal, stadiums built without public input, along with $80 million libraries, 100% renewable energy by 2040. If these aren't the signs of liberal creep, I don't know what is. President Trump's 100% right. You know, if he can't win the 2020 election going against this Green New Deal, he doesn't deserve to win. What we need to do is to make the mayoral position in Boise a partisan election. And there should be clarity as to whether the people of Boise are voting for a Republican or a Democrat in the next election. Problem is, I seriously doubt that many of the voters would know the difference and just vote for the person with the most name recognition and the most liberal viewpoints. The demographics have changed, and we have allowed the seeds of liberalism to germinate. And now we have grown to the point that they are taking over the beautiful garden that we used to call Boise, Idaho. You know, I spent most of my adult life in New York and New Jersey, two of the most liberal states in the country. And I came to Idaho 26 years ago to get that liberal monkey off my back. But as you can see, it's a movement you can't get away from. This is a movement that started in our educational institutions, and the only way to eradicate it is to fix the education system. But we all know that's not going to happen anytime soon. So for older folk like myself, the only reprieve is to move to the more rural and conservative communities. And I'm going to stick my neck out and make a prediction that within the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see a large migration to these rural areas of Idaho as people try to escape the congestion and high taxes of places like the Treasure Valley and Coeur d'Alene. Once we have high-speed communications throughout the state, and we are wired with 5G and fiber, so people can work from just about anywhere, the demographics will once again change. Well, we already see that happening in places like Sandpoint. Hopefully, I'll still be around to see this happening. And hopefully, you'll be around still educating the people of Boise and the Treasure Valley.
You never know. We will not negotiate with terrorists. We will not bow to the insurgents. Thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Thank you, my friend.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Hey, don't forget, after Dave Ramsey, it is Sean Hannity, then Lars Larson, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Larry. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. More of your phone calls about the issues that matter to you. Tom in Boise, good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to disagree with the last caller. The solution is not to move away. I think the people of Boise need to stay right where they're at. the thing is if you don't have money, you're not going to create these big, crazy projects. And they get their money from just unending raising of property taxes. It's unchecked. They're allowed to raise property taxes as much as they want. So regardless of the house prices going up, which is supply and demand, we need to put a bill in place or proposition that basically freezes the property taxes to the day that you bought the house, because that's the day you realize, yes, I can afford the taxes, yes, I can afford the mortgage. But even if you pay off your house, they're allowed to raise property taxes thousands upon thousands of dollars every year, year after year, unchecked, making people who paid their houses have to move out because if they retire, they can't afford the property taxes, so the government takes away their house. So if you deny them the source of money, the cash cow that they have, then you deny them the ability to make these crazy propositions to build stadiums and so forth. So the only thing California ever did right, in my opinion, was Prop 13, which freezes the property taxes to the day you bought it. So I believe we need to start pushing for that. I've called on this before. You have a lot of politicians there. I'd really like to see some support because in my district, in Boise, unfortunately, my Democratic representatives basically got upset with me and said they would never support such a bill. And basically the only people that can't afford it is people from outside that have a lot of money to buy these houses and pay a lot of property tax. So I believe we need to freeze property tax.
Well, what would you say directly, and you kind of have, Tom, to the conservatives in the legislature that are listening on their way in?
They need to get their butts moving and, start doing something for us who have lived here and raised our children here for 20 plus years and allow me to keep my house because, I'm considering selling my house. And that's one more conservative that you're going to have move out of the valley or move out of the state. So if you care about your state, you care about your city, and you want to stay in Boise, I've seen the place grow, put a bill together. That's what we elected you to do. Put some words on paper. Help us out. The people who have bought our houses and lived here for years. I don't want to move out, but they're going to force me out. So help us out. It's doable. It's easy to understand.
Tom, thank you. We'll do our very
All right,
best to push it. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Miller in the morning, pro-life. Hang on. We'll get to you as we move along. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I think there are a lot of things that we need to do. I think there are a lot of issues, whether it's repealing the grocery tax, whether it's some type of Prop 13. Look, props to House Majority Leader Moyle for going after the boondoggle Boise extravaganza that continues to bilk taxpayers through urban renewal. We'll take a look at that coming up. Also, Fox News on your home for Fox News on the Read. A lot going on. We are rumored Senator Crapo will be speaking with us. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on in Washington, the Mueller report, and whether or not he agrees that we should see the whole thing. Of course, legally you can't. That's why we call them the devious little libs. More coming up next. Waking up on the right side, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.